Someone hurt you, and when you brought it up, when you finally said something, they looked at you with the most sincere confusion you've ever seen. I didn't mean it like that. You're too sensitive. I didn't even realize I was doing it. And part of you believed them, because the alternative, that they knew, that they chose it, that the confusion is a performance, is a much harder thing to sit with. So you gave them the benefit of the doubt. Again, here's the uncomfortable thing nobody wants to say out loud. Most people know exactly what they're doing. Not all of it. Not always. But more than they admit. More than you've been giving them credit for not knowing. And the reason you keep extending the benefit of the doubt, the reason they didn't mean it, is always the first explanation you reach for, has less to do with them and everything to do with what it costs you to accept the alternative. There's a very specific kind of pain that comes from realizing someone hurt you on purpose. It's different from being hurt by accident. Accidental hurt is clean. It's unfortunate. It's forgivable. It doesn't require you to restructure anything about how you see the person or the relationship. Intentional hurt is expensive. It means the relationship isn't what you thought. It means you have to decide what to do with that. It means you were not a priority in a moment when you needed to be, and they knew it, and they chose something else anyway. That's a lot to absorb. So the mind protects you. It reaches for the more comfortable story. They didn't know, they didn't mean it. They're just like that with everyone. Because that story lets you keep the relationship, keep the peace, keep the version of this person you'd prefer to be true. The problem is that the comfortable story comes at a cost. It costs you accuracy. And without accuracy, you can't make good decisions about who deserves your time, your trust, your energy. You keep investing in people based on who they are in the story you've built, not who they're demonstrating themselves to be. The person who doesn't realize they always cancel plans on you, right before something that matters to you, never before something that matters to them. They know. Canceling has just never cost them enough for them to prioritize differently. The partner who doesn't mean to shut down every time you try to have a real conversation. They know the conversation makes them uncomfortable. Shutting down is how they end it. It works, so it continues. The friend who doesn't notice that they only call when they need something. They notice. But a friendship where you're always available and never requiring anything in return is an extremely convenient arrangement. Why examine it? The colleague who didn't realize their comment was undermining, in a room full of people, directed specifically at you, right before the presentation. They realized. This isn't cynicism. This is pattern recognition. One incident, maybe. Genuine confusion happens. People are clumsy with each other and sometimes genuinely oblivious. But a pattern? A consistent, specific, recurring pattern that always seems to benefit them at your expense? That's not obliviousness. That's a working system. Here's where it gets harder, because this isn't just about them. The question worth sitting with is, why do you keep needing them not to know? What does it protect you from to believe the confusion is real? For some people, it's conflict. Accepting that someone hurt you intentionally means you have to do something about it. Confront it, set a boundary, potentially lose the relationship. And conflict, for the part of you that learned early that conflict is dangerous, feels worse than being hurt quietly. So you absorb the hurt, you explain it away, you stay. For others, it's identity. If the people you chose, the partner, the friend, the person you trusted, are capable of deliberate unkindness, what does that say about your judgment, about what you've allowed? It's easier to believe they didn't know than to accept that you stayed while knowing they did. And for some people, it's hope. The belief that if they just explain it clearly enough, if they just find the right words, if they just make the person understand, they'll stop. They'll change. They'll finally see it. But you cannot make someone understand something they have already understood and decided to continue anyway. That's the sentence that changes things. None of this means everyone is malicious. Most people aren't. What most people are is self-interested, conflict avoidant, comfort-seeking, willing to take the path of least resistance as long as it's available, and you've been making it available. They're not villains. They're just people who found a dynamic that works for them and haven't been given a real reason to change it. The problem was never that they didn't know. The problem is that knowing didn't cost them anything. And that's something you actually have some power over. Not by confronting everyone, not by burning everything down, but by quietly, clearly, stopping the behavior that makes their pattern possible. Stopping the over-explaining, the repeated chances. The benefit of the doubt extended so many times it stopped being benefit and started being permission. You are not responsible for their choices, but you are responsible for what you continue to make available. The next time someone hurts you and then tells you they didn't mean it, don't decide anything immediately. Just ask yourself one question, not to them, to yourself. Does this explanation match the pattern? Or just this incident? Because a single incident and a pattern are completely different things and they deserve completely different responses. If it's the first time and there's no prior evidence, and the explanation is consistent with who they've shown themselves to be, extend the grace. People genuinely misread situations. Words land wrong. Intentions get lost. But if the explanation requires you to ignore what you've already seen, if believing them means overriding a pattern that's been running for months, if this is the fourth time you've heard a version of this exact sentence, that's not confusion. That's comfort. Theirs. At your expense. You don't have to say anything in that moment. You don't have to confront or accuse or make it dramatic. You just have to stop letting the explanation erase the pattern. See both, hold both, and make your decisions from the full picture, not just the version that's most comfortable to believe. The most generous thing you can do for yourself is accuracy, not suspicion, not assuming the worst about everyone, just seeing people clearly as you see their best moments, as clearly as you see the patterns they'd prefer you not to notice. People show you who they are constantly. The question has never been whether they're showing you. It's whether you've been letting yourself see it. This is your inner algorithm. And now you know it's there. Next week, why you attract the same type of person over and over and why the common denominator isn't bad luck. If you want to see the pattern before it sees you, subscribe.